and to everyone who is currently watching and watching out there in Facebook world. Welcome and welcome to our new platform. The guests just keep getting more and more exciting, and there is no exception to that today. First thing I would like to do, so many of you are showing interest in our new categories, so I felt like why not let's just go for it. We have the two new categories, Inspiring Salon of the Year. Again, this isn't about beautiful build outs, beautiful furniture. This is about a salon that has inspired their community, a salon that has done something good for their community, a salon that does beautiful work, of course, but the best way to get this salon nominated is for you to nominate them. And the place you go for everything I'm announcing today is probeauty.org/NAHA. Please nominate your favorite salon. Tell us why. probeauty.org/NAHA. In addition to that, Educator of the Year, and thank you to the dozens of you who have been posting, you've been nominated. What we want to get you to is the level of finalist, and there is still time. We have a special guest to talk about this Educator of the Year, someone who has really inspired you in your lifetime. I'm sure our guest today is one of those people. We have a special guest on September 23rd, Sam Villa, who's going to be with us to talk specifically about education. But again, to check out more about that, to nominate that educator who really changed your life, probeauty.org/NAHA. We're also so excited to announce another Creative Conversations guest, a 7 or 8-time nominee. I'm reading my notes. 7-time nominee. David Matterich will be joining us on October 7th. If you haven't seen his makeup, yes, you did. He was the winner in 2018. His work is extraordinary. He will be joining us. And as always, everything you need to know on probeauty.org/NAHA. Please remember, if you are creating your collections, if you're making something pretty, we want to see it, but we need to see that entered by November 17th because it closes on the 18th. So make sure you get that to us ASAP. Get those collections going, and we know everything's just starting to happen. So now, let's talk about our guest today. This guest is really a hairdresser's hairdresser. Like I've seen her over the last few minutes, she's hairdressing constantly. I think she changed a mannequin that was blue to pink today. Commonly referred to as our industry royalty. I would agree with that. She is one of the most highly respected international leaders, innovators in our hairdressing profession today. Her mission is to continuously raise the bar until our level of education is an Ivy League level of standard. She's been the artistic director for, listen to these little names you might have heard of, for Vidal Sassoon, creative director for Trevor Sorbet. Oh my God, I have so many questions about that. She's led top runway shows for legendary designers. She has styled actors to pop stars. She's been seen on just about every television show you can imagine, and now even has her own online network, HDTV. Please help me welcome to the show 7-time. Some of you thought about entering 7 times. A 7-time NAHA winner. Please welcome Vivienne Mackinder. There she is! Yay! And I'm sure everybody's clapping for you out there as well. How are you tonight, Vivienne?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Michael, for hosting this event. And thank you to the Professional Beauty Association. This is fun.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. Now, we have a tradition here at our Creative Conversations. Ever since we changed the format, everybody has their evening cocktail. And so I think people are aware what others have chosen. You have a mug, but I heard it's kombucha. So, you know, I went out. I don't have a husband who makes kombucha for me. So I have Koveted kombucha, which I want to tell people, please don't shake. It really gets messy.
I've had it explode in the kitchen where every service is soaking wet, including ourselves. Yes, it's highly explosive.
I learned that though. Like my hair was actually had a beautiful finish to it until it was wet with kombucha about 30 minutes ago.
Yes.
Cheers. So a toast, and a toast to all of you, whatever beverage you're enjoying.
Yes.
So I can feel those pro and prebiotics already. So before we fully dig into NAHA, and your process is extraordinary. We had a little bit of a talk earlier from the queen of NAHA. Sorry, I have to say it. Tell us a little bit about HDTV, because I know this is your baby. This is something your life is built up to. Can you tell us a little bit about HDTV?
Yes, it started 17 years ago, and
Wow.
and everyone was still on dial-up. And it's been interesting during this COVID time as everyone's come into a world that I've been living in for so many years alone, where people didn't even understand what it was like to go online and watch
See, like Space Odyssey or something.
I know. So it's been fascinating to see everybody flock into this world that's been a real learning curve, obviously, from the technology perspective. My site's older than Google and Facebook and YouTube, but I was out there before all of those platforms. So, you know, it's been an amazing journey. We now have 1,000 videos there, and there's nothing more interesting and painful than to watch oneself and say, why did you do that? Or how did you do that? That was a fluke of luck. And yeah, so it's been an incredible journey. And what's really fascinating is that one of the courses that I had there is called Who is Sitting in Your Chair? And it actually was born in a photo shoot environment and working with fashion designers. Because when I was working with them with storyboards and working on the mood of a collection, in the beginning of my career, I would think, well, I just must go there and do pretty hair. And the bigger, the better, and the more extravagant, the better. And I wouldn't pay any attention to the makeup, to the lighting, to the fashion, to the type of model, what the story is. It was like, a story? No, I'm not going to read a book. No, story. This is just a nice, extravagant hairstyle, which usually the photographer said, that is so awful. Like, what are you thinking? So the early part of my career, I used to go to the bathroom quite a lot and cry, recompose myself, come back out again and go, I don't really understand why they don't like my hair. And it had nothing to do with anything, right? So I started to learn that everything was about a storyline, an editorial story. It was a portrayal of their identity, their lifestyle, how feminine they were, etc., etc. So I started to understand it, and I obviously became more successful. And then working with fashion designers where they would say, well, we would like it to look Jim Morrison meets Edwardian girl meets 1950s. And you go, what is that, right? And so, of course, today you can Google and you can research online, but in the beginning, we didn't have those assets. So I would be rummaging through some of my archaic books, my little treasured books so I've got some books that are 100 years old, and I'd be going through them going, oh, maybe this is it, you know. So anyway, I learned the hard way because there wasn't the training. And so I took what I learned from the photographic world into the salon world, because I left the salon world to do other things. Then I went back again. And then I started to realize that client sitting in the chair, she has a story. That client sitting in the chair has an identity. She has a character. How about if I take those principles and apply it to her, because she's taking photographs of herself, and she's going to be editorializing everything that she's doing through her own selfies and filters. And so I created this course on Hair Designer TV that is very unique, because I dive so deeply into face shape, so deeply into how do you develop style, so deeply into these 3 wheels of fashion. So it's, for our lovely friends watching, you can actually sign up to this course, and it's amazing. And we're giving part of it to you for free. So it's funny how from failure comes opportunity, and looking and saying, that is the ugliest photograph I've ever seen. And it's sad, Michael, when you have a beautiful girl and you make her uglier.
Yeah. I've seen it. And if you want to bring up, can we bring up the graphic of your 3 levels? Is this a good time for that?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. Let's bring that up if we can. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, if you would like to take a screen capture of this, it's naha.hairdesignertv.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to look at this particular lesson, which is about how I develop a sense of style, where I come up with my ideas, how I design to face shape. And the funny thing is, the technique, Michael, is the very last thing I think about. And for 35 years, it would be the technique. I'm going to do a basket weave. I've got to do this technique or that technique, because I think any great hairdresser watching tonight wants to hone their craft, and they want to show they're accomplished in technique, which is marvelous. But what point if you don't get the story right, if you don't get the beauty aspect right, and it's not cohesive, right? So this, I highly encourage all of you, go to this link, sign up. It is free. And if you enjoy that, you can then take a deep dive into the course. So, Michael, that's a very long way of saying to you that Hair Designer TV has been a humbling teacher, and it is now my home base.
And you have so many fans out there. Francesca Rivitti, she is like, hello, hello. We have Hail to the Queen from Maureen Fleming Vargas. And those are coming to us from Facebook. And look, if you have friends on Facebook, which all of you do, let them know who we have. Hello, Vivienne Mackinder live on Facebook right now. This is rather new for us. Normally, this is a registered class kind of thing, but we're putting it out there. We're sharing it with the world live on Facebook right now. So before we dig into NAHA, because you have, 7 wins. Holy cow, 7 wins. What tips, do you have any tips or advice besides they should definitely start with going naha.hairdesignertv.com? That's a good start. Any other tips and tricks you might give to someone who's thinking about entering NAHA for the very first time?
Absolutely. I have been nominated more than I've won, for sure.
I'm aware.
And I think that's important to know that, first of all, find your authentic self. Try not to copy anybody else. Try and find something that speaks to you. Go away and be quiet and explore colors, textures, listen to music, because everything has a word attached to it, and there's power in words. So if I said to you shadows, shapes, you could start thinking about, how can I create shadows in the color? How can I create very strong shapes? How would I want to have shadows and shapes in the photography? How would I want shadows and shapes in the makeup? What sort of shadows and shapes would be in the clothing? And allow your imagination to go, because yes, harvest ideas for inspiration, but then let them go and go into yourself to find your authenticity, because then you're only competing against you, and you don't want to be a second-rate version of somebody else. They're already taken. So first of all, let the category that you're going to go into speak to you. And if you're obsessed with texture, indulge, explore it, push the boundaries. But what's very, very important, and you smiled when you were saying Trevor Sorby's name. I worked on a collection for Trevor when I first came to the United States. And at the time, Trevor Sorby was considered the greatest hairdresser in the world. And that particular year, he did 50 TV shows, and he was everywhere. He could not walk down the street in the UK without being recognized. So I come to America to design a collection for him to go on tour. And I'm alone in the United States. I'm homesick, and I'm just wanting to go back to London. So I'm having one of those lovely pity parties all by myself. Anyway, I designed the collection. Trevor flies in from London, and I'm so terribly nervous because all these hair pieces and all these extravagant things, you name it, everything but the kitchen sink is on these girls' heads.
Yeah.
He walks into the room, and there's silence.
Oh, no.
And I think, silence is not good.
It's crossed. It could be.
So he looks at me and he says, Vivienne, there's a fine line between creativity and bad taste.
Please tell me he wasn't.
I'm looking, thinking, do I cry now or later? Can I hold myself together? So then I said to him, which one am I?
Good question. Don't assume anything, right?
He said, he said, bad taste.
Oh no.
And I went, but I've tried so hard. He said, clearly.
What?
He said, but it's ugly.
Oh
And
no.
he said, you've tried too hard. He said, you lost the story. He said, you tried to put everything on ahead, that you lost the beauty for the pursuit of different and creative. He said, if you took half of the stuff away, you'd have something. So you asked whether you're new to NAHA or even someone who's tried several times. It's an incredible investment in self to discover who you are and what you could be. I think it's really important to practice on mannequin heads, to photo journal. I've got my little girl here. I told you I was going to bring her out. Here
Yeah, let's see. Let's see.
Come on, darling.
So the great Vivienne Mackinder actually works on mannequins too. Like, you don't have to feel embarrassed, folks.
Yeah. So I was working on an idea, and I wanted to see what it would be like to do like a forward braid. And she actually has short hair, and I put in a hair extension. She's got long hair, right? I'll bring her back.
I love it. I love she has shoulders.
And she's got shoulders. And she's got great eyelashes. But the whole point is practice, 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 practice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Photograph, 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 until she can have another friend and another friend and another friend, which starts to build the storyline. So, you know, if you've never been into a studio, you've got to find yourself a great photographer, first of all. And I always say, start with the photographer, because they have the resources. So once you found a photographer's work that you like, and you have the bravery to reach out and contact them, and you say, listen, I would like to do a shoot, and explain exactly what it is, whatever your budget is. I mean, if you've got any money to spend it on the photographer, because he's going to know a model that will test. He's going to know a makeup artist that will test for testing, being that you're doing it without being paid. He's going to have all of those resources. But if you go to a makeup artist, yes, of course, they work with it, but the photographer is the captain of the ship. And they know who they like to play with. And you surround yourself with people better than you, and you go in there to learn and be humble, and you have practiced and practiced, and you could show, like with this particular look, if I could show that to a photographer and say it's bohemian meets punk meets rockabilly, right? So now the narrative that's going, it's okay, so let's now research punk. What does that look like? What does rockabilly look like? You know, and you start to explore tribal. What does that look like? And soon you're starting to build your story, because you can't compromise on the photography. And if you try and go cheap on photography, you're going to spend tons of money in retouching. It'll be an inferior image, and you really need that. So number one is a great photographer. Number two, get your mannequin head out and start practicing ideas so that you can recreate them all, right? And then you must make sure that when you cast your model, that she's going to fit the story. So I would not take a classic beauty for this little girl. I would take someone who's more edgy for this little girl, so that she fits the story. So think about yourself as the director of a movie. When you're casting your actors, you want to make sure that that actor is the perfect James Bond, not the wishy-washy James Bond. He's like, you know, real deal James Bond, right?
Who's your favorite James Bond?
I suppose, I don't know. I mean, when he was younger, I suppose it was Sean Connery.
Oh, okay.
I suppose
I would be Sean Connery. Sean Connery, for me.
Because he was the first one, wasn't he?
I mean, and he's the one. Sorry to interrupt, but I had to know that.
Actually, I would pick George Clooney, but then he's not.
I mean,
he's not muscular enough, is he? But
has he been a Bond? Wait, has he been a Bond?
No, he hasn't. But he's cute.
No, we're just talking about our type. So you take us on this beautiful path. We have images, folks. Can we bring up some of the images? And literally, let's go on a journey with you. And let's start with a story called The Journey. Yeah. And I mean, this is an incredible collection I, I mean, I've been now 5, 6 years working, as a chair for NAHA and PBA, and like very passionate and excited about all this. And we saw this, and it was like, okay, winner. How did we get there? This is a master's winner.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell
Well,
us about
you
this.
know what's interesting? Because the photographer, Julia Pugadina, I saw her collection in a consumer magazine, and I saw the front cover, and I was just so blown away by her photography. I thought, I'm going to be really brave. I'm going to reach out to her and ask whether she'll shoot with me. And lo and behold, she said yes. I was actually prepared for no. But I thought, why not push the envelope and try for it? So she said yes. So that was the first stretch. I was very fascinated by Japanese sumo warriors, and I thought it would be really cool to do a Japanese collection. And I wanted it to have architecture and drama. And so that's how this was born. And I didn't have the budget for many models. So it was one model. I worked with wigs, with hair pieces, with her own hair to create these collections. And if we just go back for a second, I want to show you one shot, which is, go back one more and one more. So sorry. This one.
Yep,
this one, when I was working with a fashion stylist she works with Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and so on, an amazing fashion stylist. She said, this hair doesn't work. She said, it doesn't fit the story. And I said, I really feel it does work with the story. And I said, I want the fabric to move. And I feel that this hair has nice movement to it. And we actually came head to head as to she saying no and me saying yes. And in the end, I did win because I really believed in it. And I was very strong about it. And what's interesting is that this is a pixie wig. I built up her own hair inside the pixie wig. I slipped the pixie wig back so you can see it's almost like slipping to the back of the head. I then took a weft of long red hair and I spun it around. And it was just, I was joking around and I spun it and the whole thing wrapped around. And then I tied it and then I brought her own hair through the front so that I could get this wonderful shape and dimension. And that's how it was born. And there's another image that I just want to go the other direction. No, go forwards, please. And again, this one here where the hair is bumped up. I had that wig on upside down on a mannequin stand and the fringe was sticking out the way that you see it now. And I thought, that's kind of cool. And it's laying there. So you know what's important is awareness, observation, curiosity, being childlike and going, God, that's kind of interesting. What would happen if I did something with that? And being prepared for failure. Being prepared for it not to work is okay because it's part of the journey. If you are so, I've got to be perfect, it's got to be perfect, then you're designing with your handbrake on. So you have to be able to dwell. And when you're designing a collection, it's not an Instagram browse. It's stopping, it's marinating, and it's not a microwave experience. It's a marination. Otherwise, you miss the magic. So that was a very important collection and an incredible team. And there was so many things that went wrong in this collection before it went right.
Really, I mean, these two shots are obviously incredibly extraordinary. So people should be prepared to work with wigs. How much can you do in advance, and what percentage would you say? And I'm sure it's a moving target. You should be prepared to just react to on set.
Well, because you're the producer of it and it's your vision, you need to do as much practicing and as much prep as possible because time in the studio is expensive. And time in the studio, even with the most seasoned people, things go wrong. Things turn out differently. The model something may happen with a model. There's all sorts of stories that can go on there. This was one girl, and I knew I couldn't cut her own hair. She was a very good model. And so I knew I had to build out as much as I could do in advance. So we did 9 shots working with her own hair and without her hair, and everything was prepared beforehand. So there was weeks that went into this before, weeks of research, weeks of design in order to get it to that point. And this little geometric haircut is 100% cut with a razor. No
Really?
no scissors.
Amazing.
Because I take my Sassoon training and I've applied it to the razor so that I can do precision razor as well as abstract razor.
I love that. Like, and I'm a huge fan of the razor, and I know that Sassoon was anti-razor, so I'm glad somebody is mending them together. Let's talk about Kaleidoscope, which was Master nominated.
Yes. So this one here, again, we'll just scroll through these images. I wanted to create lots of very sort of strong texture, and I was fascinated by a kaleidoscope and wanted to try and create these wonderful dimensions and defy gravity. And I was also inspired by hats. And as you can see here, this one was epic. To do this, it was a nightmare because it was just so hard to take all of these wefts and construct it so that it draped and dripped, and I could have this wonderful array of colors going on. And the other thing that was also important about this collection, I think if we get in the next slide, we'll see it. Oh yes, this one again, Defying Gravity, is the layout. You'll see I have bookends, and I have a center one that's looking forward. So the composition is really important. Now, trying too hard would be trying to be too theatrical with the lighting. Notice the lighting. It is Roberto Agresti, fantastic lighting. So it's moody. The fashion styling, I just wanted black with simple shapes. And I wanted the hair to stand out in this kaleidoscope manner, which I felt was very, very important. David Matarich did the makeup for, I think, all of the collections that you're going to see, who I think is a phenomenal makeup artist. And I know you're going to be having him on. So he added another element. So this was, again, a really nice collection of texture and color, which at that time was very important.
Incredible. Like, I love that collection. And now Uncompromised Beauty, right? That's where we are. And that's another Masters nominated. It's incredible. Some of these haven't won, but no insult to the winners at all.
Well, this was interesting because I had been doing all this bright extravagant stuff, I thought, why not do something totally different? Why not do things that are just beautiful hair, more editorial and real? Why does it always have to be trees growing out of heads or these extravagant things? Why not be brave and just do beautiful, beautiful hair? And ironically, out of all the collections that I've ever produced, the Professional Beauty Association used this collection on all of their collateral for, I think it was over a year. So this collection got more exposure than any collection I ever did. And it was just me being rebellious, saying, I don't want to do theater. I want to just do something really beautiful. So it was nominated. And, you know, I thought, well, you know, it's the luck of the draw. People are either going to think it's just beautiful because it's simple, or, well, where's the tree, Vivienne?
Well, tell me this. How can someone approach a shoot for NAHA if they want to use it for other things? I don't think anyone who's not the queen of our industry can approach it thinking PBA is going to use their stuff for everything. But do you have an approach for like how these things, like I mean, a shoot can be 30 grand for some people, or 10,000 now with some new equipment. Do you have any tips for people to create that campaign?
Yes, well, I think Kaleidoscope is the only collection I ever shot with intention for NAHA. All the others were just collections I shot, and when NAHA came along, I thought, does this fit? And so so I did it that way. So it wasn't with intention. So I always say a collection's got to have legs. It's got to have mileage. And what are those legs? And what is it beyond Instagram? What is it beyond brochures or, you know, all the digital platforms? What is the return on that? Now, is it just to feed your heart? Is it to feed your pocket? What is it meant to do? Because you have to put intention around things. And I'm really big on intention. With intention, things will happen. But if you're vague, they won't. So you could absolutely look at the categories of NAHA, say, yes, this speaks to me. I want to do something that's authentically myself. I want to discover my creativity. I'm going to go there. And then afterwards, I'm going to send it out to the magazines. I'm going to see how I can leverage it some more. So yes, you can do that way, but I've always done it the other way around.
I love it. So now for me personally, the Kool kids, I remember seeing this and just being like, yes, 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 yes. Tell us about this collection.
Well, this was a fun collection, and I shot this again with Julia Pogadina, and David Maderich did the makeup. And I want to just stop here at this shot to say something really important. Look at how bold and crazy the fashion is. Look at how bold the hair is, but look at how simple the makeup is. And look at how clean the photography is. So this was an editorial collection. It went in a consumer magazine, and the inspiration was Japanese street trend. And the flip side of this was that my husband had bought 50 baby chicks that were designer chickens, some of them roosters. And they
Chinese silkies.
And they had these crazy feathers and plumage. And one of the chickens had a pattern like that. It was called a sea bright. And so I said to Sue Pemberton, who did the color, I said, Sue, can you paint hair like a chicken? And she's like, well, Viv, I don't know about that. So I got the feathers from the chicken. I took pictures of the chicken. And so basically, this is where madness is. Japanese street trend. And this is like, I don't know, is it 10 years old? I don't even know how old this is. It's before we got into doing the vivid colors. But you can see here that this one here is very much like a chicken.
I mean, I remember this so well. And editorial is a category I'm very familiar with, being an editorial stylist most of my life. Like, I love this so much. And I love knowing they came from chickens. I didn't even.
Yeah. And the other thing too, if you're working with a very creative photographer, these are outtakes afterwards. And you can see that my photographer then did some morphing effects so that then the collection has a different sensibility that can go on a different journey. So if you shoot clean, you can always in post add another dimension to the shot by layering the images and ghosting the images so that you can say, right, I want 5 amazing images. I just want beautiful lighting. And then in post, I can be creative and I can send it off to different magazines and so on and so forth.
So now let's talk about our last, but certainly not least important. Let's talk about this collection and how a little mouse might have told me this isn't a collection you thought would win. There were some challenges on set.
No, actually, no, this wasn't the one that actually Kool. I thought
okay, sorry.
Would win. Yeah, I thought that would, because it was. I thought it was a very strong editorial story.
No, I thought that would have won, but you didn't think this one would win, is what I heard.
No, this one I absolutely didn't. Well, this one I was shooting this for the Alternative Hair Show. And the theme of the show was called Surreal. So the first thing that came to my mind was white. And then I thought, oh gosh, white wigs. Well, good luck finding white wigs, first of all.
Yeah.
And everything was going horribly, horribly wrong. And I had a temper tantrum in my kitchen. I threw the wig across the floor. And it was just like, this is such a failure. And a little voice inside said, keep doing the right thing, even though the right thing is not happening. And it came back again. Keep doing the right thing, even though the right thing is not happening. And I promise you, I came this close to quitting. And it was sometimes the passion is a delight, and sometimes the passion is a pain. And sometimes you need to go through in order to climb up that ladder to get somewhere greater. And often you have to let go. And you have to get out of your own way. And when you're doing things your eye has never seen before, the first thing your eye is going to do is reject it, because it wants to go to familiar and known. So you have to allow creativity to bloom, because if you sneer at it, you're sneering at a little bud, a little jewel that hasn't really matured into something, and you could be walking away from a brilliant idea. So a new idea is delicate, and you have to respect that. And so this one, it came really close to not happening, and in the end it did. So this must be at least I don't know, how old is this? This must be 15 years old.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And, you know, again, the white with the blue, I thought it was really, really pretty. And so, yeah, that was a very, very powerful story. So, you know, what is good taste? To me, good taste is something that completes and doesn't compete.
Yeah. So before we get to our final question, which is a fun question, I mean, you're like Sue Pemberton and like all these extraordinary photographers and makeup artists. There are many people watching who are brand new. What advice can you give to them to build a team? I called it. I started as a nobody in a little town outside of Los Angeles, and I called it building my culture club. Like, I was attracted to poets and painters and the freaks and geeks. Always, I'm an 80s baby. And that's what we did. And we put on our big shoes and we did things on the weekend. And I feel like I built a club, but your club is way up here. Do you have any advice for someone who's looking to build that team? Maybe we don't have the dollars yet, but maybe a frame of mind they can be in to get there?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would do is put a sign in the bathroom in your salon, clearly stating, like you could put the NAHA sign there, you could put a couple of your favorite shots from NAHA and say, I want to win this. And I'm looking for a model, a photographer, a makeup artist. You put your list of the talented team. And every client who comes in must know someone who knows somebody who knows somebody whose daughter just became a model or whatever, whatever, whatever. And to find that team in exchange for services, so that if you can get away with not having to pay anything, that would be pretty amazing in exchange for services. And, you know, you've got to obviously put a value to those services and determine it that way. So that's one way of networking within, because people lead to people, and how you connect those dots. Also assist, because when you assist somebody, you are meeting their connections and you are learning the protocol. So any photo shoot that you can go on where you can assist is fantastic. And I tend to, when it's on shoots, I have very much the same people coming on my shoots, but every so often I'll open it up and I'll have interns. When I used to do workshops, I would have interns come so that they could be in my space. And I have people who've assisted me who've then gone on to work with me, be part of my team, and so on and so forth. So don't negate assisting. Research, look out for people that really inspire you and stalk them. It's like in a kind way, I want to work with you, and study. Photo journal. Create your mood boards, practice on a mannequin head, photograph it, so that you can really hone those skills. And when you put that out there to the universe, it truly is the law of attraction. And our attitude will determine how high we can go. And when you put it out there that you want to do a photo shoot and you want to do X, Y, Z, it's amazing how all of a sudden somebody will start to show up. You know, we know our past. Let's not live there. Let's live and forecast our future. And by forecasting the future, you're saying, right, I want to do that photo shoot. So I'm going to start researching for this month photographers, and I'm going to find out where they are. And today it's so easy. It's called online. So you can start to do that, right? Look at photographers who've already won for NAHA. They understand the formula, and ask, what's it going to take? And do whatever you can. Do a fundraiser in the salon. It's amazing how I've got somebody that's coming to me soon. They did a fundraiser to actually come and work with me. All their clients paid. Be creative. There are ways. There's always a way. If you want it bad enough, you get it. And are you prepared to fall down, get back up, struggle, fail, succeed, victory, failure. That's part of it, right? It's part of it. And know that you know, when people say, well, I'm scared of doing it because I may fail. Well, failure is The acronym is first attempt in trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You expect to be a genius the first time? You kidding me? You know, marketing
No.
is the most misunderstood out of anything in the world. Because when
Yeah.
you watch a master work, they make it look effortless. They make it look so easy, and it's an illusion. Because what you haven't seen that master do is the years and the hours and the days and the struggle. And no one wants to hear that. They all want their rosette. They want their medal, right? But the effort equals the outcome. And you've got to put that time in. So, you know, I started off with Mark Hayes at Sassoons. When we were baby hairdressers at Sassoons, we had our little camera and we would take our pictures of our models, and then we would go down to the chemist and get our film developed. Sometimes it would be black, the film. There's nothing that developed. Sometimes it's completely overexposed.
The chances we took back then, right?
I know. 2 days later, you know if you got something, right? Today, hello, you got a photo. You can see it, you got immediate gratification, right? Yeah. So we started off that way, and then I progressed to a Polaroid camera because I figured if it's a Polaroid, I'm going to see it immediately. So it was one of those that spat the
Yeah, I know it. I know it well.
and that's also how I learned. So I learned the very slow, hard way. So today it's more competitive. And the fact that everyone has a phone means that everyone can do it, right? So you've got to find your authentic voice, but don't compromise beauty. Don't compromise at all. And study, humble yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, on Hair Designer TV, not only do I have the course that I'm highly recommending people do, which is, you know, who is sitting in your chair, but I've got courses in there on editorial work and how to do photo shoots. So there's a ton.
Can we bring up that logo again real quick? I know it was the last slide where we just were. Yeah, I mean, I'm so appreciative of that, Leslie. If we could bring up the, let's see, there it is. Oops. So we want everybody to go here and to learn from you. I mean, this has been such an incredible interview. We could do 10 more. I love the passion. I love the process. I know that the chats we've been having, people are so excited. We like to do something fun though toward the end. Through all this greatness, what if you were asked by Crayola crayons to create your own color? Because we've seen some color, and like, you know, I have to say I probably would have voted for your editorial of the year collection with the cool kids. But what would you call if Crayola crayons came to you and said, we have a deal for you. We're making a new box of crayons. We're putting together all these great artists from all these great industries. We're going to give you your own color and you get to name it. What would that color be and what would the name be?
Well, I'm going to sound terribly boring, but it'd probably be a very soft sky blue, because I think that when you see that gorgeous blue sky, maybe this is because I'm in England.
Where you don't see a blue sky.
Yeah, we see 7 Shades of Grey a lot. But there's something so magical and pure about a beautiful blue sky. And you travel around the world and you see that blue in all of its different tonalities. To me, it's a very happy color. So it would be just boring sky blue.
And what would you call it, since you're so great at naming your collections?
I would call it sky blue.
Sky blue, I like it.
It would be that simple, because that's what it is.
I think I would call it My Sky Blue by Vivienne Mackinder.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Vivienne, we want to get it right. We've got people interested. So again, it's naha.hairdesignertv.com.
Yes.
Not just hairdesignertv.com, but go naha.hairdesignertv.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where they can go and get the information.
Yes, yeah. So put it, if you're going to get the free information at naha.hairdesignertv.com. And I think we've got the card there. It was the very first one we had. We can bring that up.
Yeah, if we bring up the very first one. I saw your note. It was sort of before these slides. As we're finding that, my dear, what do we have? It's the black bar above, naha.hairdesignertv.com. Any final thoughts for us as we leave today? And normally these are 30-minute interviews. We've gone nearly an hour, but
Oh,
how
yeah.
could we say no to the
I'm so sorry.
queen of NAHA? Any parting words for us, my dear?
Enjoy the journey, because it is a journey. You'll spend much more time preparing, shooting for NAHA than if you're blessed to have those few seconds on stage with that award. And no one can take my story away as to what I learned on the journey, whether I was not nominated, whether I was nominated, and whether I won. Because it's about enjoying that creative process, enjoying the collaboration. And it's a sense of being better today than one was yesterday. And if you can go in with that spirit, you won't be disappointed. And if you can show up being the best version of you, then you won't be disappointed. But if you try and copy and you look at everybody else on Instagram and you start to go down that passage, it can be very destructive, because you'll always find people out there that are doing better work than yourself. You'll find people out there doing worse work than yourself. So what? How can you be the best version of you? And it's about finding something that you love, so that, because this is not a financial thing in terms of you're being paid for it. In fact, you're going to invest money. But if you invest the money wisely, you will see a return. And just give it your very, very, very best and have a blast. And remember, surround yourself with people far better than yourself, because that is infectious. Human behavior is contagious, and you want to be around greatness in order to be great, and just have a good time.
I love that. And being a big enough woman to admit there are people better than us when you have achieved what you achieve. A kombucha toast to our late night conversations here for many. Thank you for staying up. I'm Michael Sean Corby with PBA. These are creative conversations. Make sure you tune in to our next one on September 23rd with Sam Villa, where the focus is education. Thank you so much, Vivienne Mackinder. We can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good night, everybody. Lots of love.
Have a great evening, everyone. So much love coming from Facebook. Thank you so much. Bye.